Oral traditions serve as a vital means of preserving and transmitting cultural heritage, stories, and collective wisdom across generations. Unlike written records, oral traditions rely on the active participation of both the speaker and the listener to maintain the accuracy and authenticity of stories. This dynamic process involves not just the conveyance of factual content, but also the preservation of contextual and emotional nuances that bring the stories to life. The psychological and cultural factors that influence this process are multifaceted and deeply intertwined. By examining these influences through the lens of logical triads, we can gain a deeper understanding of how oral traditions are sustained, the mechanisms that ensure their fidelity, and the role they play in fostering community identity and continuity. In oral traditions, narrative engagement, empathy, and shared experience coexist to maintain the story's integrity. Cultural historian, narrative engagement involves the active participation of both the speaker and listener, which fosters a deeper connection to the story. Community elder. This engagement naturally invokes empathy, as listeners emotionally connect with the characters and events within the narrative. This empathetic connection allows listeners to place themselves within the story, thereby gaining a more profound understanding. Cultural historian shared experience further enhances this process, as the storytelling often occurs within a community setting where individuals collectively experience the story, reinforcing their shared cultural and emotional bonds. The interconnectedness of these elements ensures that the story is not only remembered but also felt and understood deeply by each generation, preserving its authenticity and emotional impact. The reinforcement triad emphasizes the cyclic nature of oral tradition preservation. Young storyteller. Active listening is crucial as it requires the listener to be fully present and engaged with the story, capturing its nuances and details. This attentive listening enhances memory retention, allowing the listener to accurately recall and reproduce the story. Young storyteller. Storytelling skill is developed through repeated exposure and practice, as those who remember the stories well are more likely to become skilled storytellers. These storytellers, in turn, create compelling narratives that captivate their audiences, thereby promoting active listening. This reinforcement loop ensures that each element strengthens the others, leading to a robust preservation of oral traditions. In the causal triad, the relationship between emotional resonance, contextual understanding, and cultural continuity is linear and essential for the preservation of oral traditions. Emotional resonance ensures that the story touches the listener's heart, making it memorable and impactful. This emotional connection facilitates contextual understanding, as listeners are more likely to grasp the story's setting, characters, and underlying messages when they are emotionally invested. This deep understanding is crucial for cultural continuity, as stories are passed down with their full context and significance intact. Without emotional resonance, the story loses its impact, leading to a breakdown in both contextual understanding and cultural transmission. Thus, the causal relationships ensure that each element is critical for maintaining the integrity and relevance of oral traditions across generations. The harmonic triad illustrates how imaginative visualization, personal identification, and community bonding work together harmoniously to preserve oral traditions. Imaginative visualization allows listeners to create vivid mental images of the story, making it more engaging and easier to remember. Personal identification, where listeners see parts of themselves in the characters or situations described, fostering a personal connection to the narrative. Community bonding occurs as these shared stories become a collective experience, strengthening social ties and cultural identity. The mutual reinforcement of these elements ensures that stories are not just heard, but are experienced and integrated into the community's fabric, promoting their continued relevance and transmission. The convergent triad highlights how cognitive engagement, emotional connection, and interactive participation converge to ensure the effective transmission of oral traditions. Cognitive engagement requires listeners to actively think about and process the story, enhancing their understanding and retention of its content. This cognitive involvement fosters a strong emotional connection as listeners become more invested in the narrative's outcome and meaning. Interactive participation, such as asking questions, discussing the story, or retelling it, reinforces both cognitive and emotional involvement. These elements mutually enhance each other, creating a dynamic and immersive storytelling environment where stories are thoroughly understood, emotionally resonant, and actively perpetuated. This convergence ensures that oral traditions remain vibrant and meaningful within the community. Oral traditions are sustained through a complex interplay of psychological and cultural factors that ensure the accuracy and authenticity of stories. By examining these influences through logical triads, we gain insights into how narrative engagement, empathy, shared experience, active listening, memory retention, storytelling skills, emotional resonance, contextual understanding, cultural continuity, imaginative visualization, personal identification, community bonding, cognitive engagement, emotional connection, and interactive participation contribute to the preservation of oral traditions. These elements are interdependent, creating a robust framework that supports the transmission of stories across generations. Understanding these dynamics helps us appreciate the richness of oral traditions and their vital role in maintaining cultural heritage and collective memory.